Inside the Magic, show number 368 for April 22nd, 2012. It is Sunday, Earth Day, April 22nd, 2012. This is show 368 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. We have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get to all of that, I'd like to invite you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find not only all our podcasts, but also our videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, or questions, you can always write to me via email at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Book your Disney cruise vacation with Magical Travel and receive free shipboard credit. Shipboard credits are good towards merchandise, spa treatments, shore excursions, and other activities. So call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit us online at magicaltravel.com, or visit them online, really, to receive a free price quote. Of course, you can mention Inside the Magic to receive a free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by Audible, get a free audiobook download and access to over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player as part of a free trial, all at audibletrial.com/InsideTheMagic. And of course, thanks very much to listeners and viewers like you, and especially this week to Stephen Brumfield. Thanks very much for your donation. Of course, all of our monthly recurring donation subscribers and anyone who clicks through any of our affiliate links over at the website. Thanks very much for all of that. And now, let's get started with our trip around the world. So here we are, show 368, and it occurred to me, it's April 22nd now, it occurred to me this week after recording last week's show that we've actually hit our 7-year anniversary here on Inside the Magic. It's amazing how time flies when it comes to this podcast. I actually didn't even realize it was time for that 7-year anniversary last week. I would have mentioned it, or I would have planned something this week. I really didn't plan anything special, no contests or anything like that. Maybe coming up soon. It's been a while since we've done a contest here. But for now, just worth a mention here at the top of the show that it has been 7 years of weekly installments of Inside the Magic, and that means we have entered our 8th year, which is great. When I realized it a few days ago, I put a message up on Facebook and asked how many people had been listening since show number 1, and quite a few people had. In fact, I already see somebody in the chat room, Dr. Tacos, in the chat room, has been listening since show number 1, so thanks very much to Dr. Tacos and everybody else who's been listening that long. Andrew WA in the chat room as well. But anyway, moving on from there. Thanks for anybody, whether you've tuned in from number 1 or even from just 367 last week. I thank you for listening, and it's been fun. So let's jump right into our 8th year here with some news, starting over at Epcot, something we certainly covered here last week on the show, and that is this week, Test Track at Epcot closed for the next few months as it undergoes a major makeover, becoming the new version of Test Track. It seems like it's still going to be called Test Track when it comes back in the fall of this year, but it will also feature the Chevrolet Design Center, and on the Walt Disney World webpage this week, some concept art went up, showing off a bit of what this Chevrolet Design Center overlay of Test Track is going to look like. The concept art kind of shows the new design for Test Track's ride vehicles, which some of them have already been making their way around the track for a few months now, so that's not entirely new. But upon closer look, there are some other elements to this piece of artwork that's on the Test Track webpage that are worth noting. There's a new logo that says Test Track, sponsored by Chevrolet. And it's definitely a new sort of sleek logo for Test Track. The yellow and gray and black is gone, replaced by white and black and blue, and really a modern look. And then an even closer look at other areas of this artwork show what appear to be perhaps some artwork for the interactive queue that they're going to be working on for Test Track, in which guests walking through the attraction when it comes back will be able to design their own vehicles and then use that design somehow incorporated in the ride in the sim cars, as they're going to be calling it. It seems that there's going to be some sort of work screens or touch screens or workstations or any combination of those words, some car models and that kind of thing. So looking forward to seeing what Test Track will look like when it comes back. It does appear, however, at least based on the Walt Disney World online calendar, Test Track is currently scheduled to be closed all the way through the end of November now, perhaps reopening on December 1st. And technically, Disney has said it's going to be opening fall 2012, and fall extends all the way through December 20th. So even though that sounds like winter at that point, it technically is still fall, and so Disney can open it anytime during that period. Of course, all of that could change. They could open it early, they could open it later. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. In addition, as we said last week on the show, that premiered just a few days ago on Monday, performing out in front of the Test Track attraction is the Test Track All-Stars a cappella singing group. They're performing about 6 times a day, maybe 7 times a day, starting first thing in the morning, 9:30 a.m., and various show times all the way until 5 p.m. I haven't had a chance to see them in person yet. I tried to when I was there on Saturday, but it got rained out, which, though, from what I've seen, there are a few videos that have popped up online of them. They're all right. It seems like a group that has been sort of thrown together a little bit to add some additional entertainment in front of Test Track while it is down, and everybody kind of walks around saying being very confused as to why there's a cappella singing group instead of Test Track. But that's the way it goes for now. Also worth noting is that as part of that Test Track All-Stars show, they end the show apparently singing a song from Chevy commercial, which is, sponsor at work there. So anyway, that's Test Track for the moment, but certainly not the only news coming out of Epcot this week, as with Test Track going down, something brand new has opened, and that is over in Innoventions. It is the new Vision House, and this is replacing the House of Innoventions. Vision House officially opened today, actually, just in time for Earth Day, and it's definitely a different sort of house inside Innoventions. Traditionally, the House of Innoventions has shown off a lot of gizmos and really high-tech items that are either soon to be available or way in the future to be available, whereas this new Vision House really focuses almost exclusively on green products. That is, eco-friendly products, environmentally friendly products. That's really the notion behind what the Vision House is, and it was assembled in partnership with Walt Disney Imagineering and Green Builder Media, who are big into the whole green concept. Of course, as I said, it's launching today officially on Earth Day, but last night, the night before, the 21st, was a special preview party that I attended, and there were a few words said by various groups, including somebody from Disney sort of describing exactly what the Vision House is all about. And so I want to take you over there real quick to learn a little bit more about what exactly went into creating the Vision House and what the story behind it all is all about. So let's step inside for a moment here.
I'm with the Corporate Alliance team here at Walt Disney World, and I've had a chance to work with this particular show, which is our house show. It has been one of the most popular all the way back from the very beginning of Innoventions. Our guests love to come in and check things out and see what's new with our house story. And although we've featured a lot of high-tech products over the years, this is the first time we've given it a real green focus for this particular show. And the show looks very different from what it has in the past. For any of you who have visited here, you may have recognized this as our House of Innoventions story. In the new show, what's really changed is we've taken down all the barriers. Now our guests can actually come in and walk into the particular rooms. They can touch some of the things in here, play with many of the products while they're in here. Where in the past we've had walls up where guests could get the story and the cast members would tell them all about it, but they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to interact with the products and features as they do now. You will notice in this particular house things are glued down a little bit more than probably most, but we've already gotten a lot of comments from our guests saying, I kind of felt like somebody really lived there, whether it be, the daughter's bed that wasn't quite made, or even the pictures of the family. Some of you may have seen them when you came into the first room. We actually do have photos of our family who lives there up front, and our cast members will share more of the story about the folks who live here, why the green story is important to them, and how it relates to each one of the characters who do live in this house.
So there you go, a little bit from Disney, somebody from Disney there about the new House of Innoventions, now called the Vision House from Green Builder Media. And I, of course, did have a chance to walk through the new exhibit last night, and I found it, it's not as fun as the old House of Innoventions was, which I always looked forward to visiting, seeing all the latest gadgets and gizmos aplenty, if you will, that they have there. And now it is a much more home environment. As you said, the barriers have been taken down, so you can kind of walk in and out of the different areas of the house, the bedroom, the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen, etc. And it's all set up like a very modern, very well designed house that somebody would actually want to live in. And it does indeed look like a house that somebody could be living in today. But as you learn more about the products that are featured in any of the rooms, or of all of the rooms, you'll find that it does indeed feature a number of green items. Something as simple as in the dining room, the chairs, big bright red chairs, are actually made from recycled plastic bottles, I believe, which I thought was interesting. The cabinets are made from recycled materials. The lighting is all energy efficient LED lighting. There's chairs that are made of old burlap sacks that are surprisingly comfortable. The kitchen has Energy Star appliances that are all rated for this and that are very environmentally friendly. There are touchscreens from Nexia that are controlling everything you see throughout this Vision House, and these control the lighting and the blinds and the air conditioning and all of security and all of that. And these are all it seems like a slightly futuristic take on a house, but it actually is all products that are available today, and all the way down to the design elements and all the way through the high-tech items. They're not so far-fetched as they used to be in the old House of Innoventions. And like I said, everything really has a focus on being green and eco-friendly. Of course, there's one gizmo that stands out from everything else, which is a remote control toilet that has interesting features like heating and drying and plays music. I'm not sure why you need a toilet to play music, but it does, and there you go. So I thought that was interesting. But regardless, walking through the Vision House is it's weird because you feel like you're walking through a real house in the middle of Innoventions, in the middle of Epcot. So it's sort of like a very contemporary, very modern house. You're at home, and you get away from home to go to Disney World, and then you end up at Epcot, and you go almost back home, which is kind of odd. But it's very well done. It's like I said, it's not quite as fun necessarily as the old House of Innoventions, but it is more practical for sure. You will likely, if you're a homeowner, you'll likely walk through the new Vision House and really come away with at least one or two products that you could say, hey, I would actually like that for my house. For me, I thought it was really cool that there were some Pella windows that had blinds built into the windows, which I've got a window in my house that has that feature, but these are actually automated. So at the touch of a button, you could lower them or raise them, or you could actually program them to raise and lower at different times of day, which would be really nice, not only for when, the sun is rising, setting, different parts of the sky, but also when you're away, it could be a security feature to make it look like people are home. So definitely, it's a fun update. Well, it's a good update to an exhibit. I wouldn't necessarily call the Vision House fun anymore, but it is certainly worth walking through to see a lot of good products that are available now. And of course, you can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for a complete photo and video tour of the entire Vision House. So more big news this week, although we're going to be moving away from Epcot now over to the Magic Kingdom. Early Tuesday morning, D23 had an early morning tweet up, and tweet was definitely a good word to be using here, because 71 D23 members plus guests plus artist Davy Jones and Imagineers Dave Hoffman and Jason Grant marked the return of the Orange Bird to the Magic Kingdom. The Orange Bird, for those of you who don't know, was the sort of an advertising icon invented invented when Walt Disney World, the Orlando Resort, was in its infancy, really trying to, Disney described the orange bird as, quote, an icon both of Florida heritage and of the timeless appeal of the vacation kingdom of the world, end quote. There was also a catchy Orange Bird tune written by Disney's famous Sherman brothers, and the Orange Bird actually debuted a few months originally before Walt Disney World first opened in 1971, ultimately left Walt Disney World in 1987, and now in big fanfare event Tuesday morning, the Orange Bird has returned. You'll now find the Orange Bird on a poster on the Main Street USA train station, and also at the Sunshine Tree Terrace, which is in Adventureland, which has been remodeled, has the Orange Bird on the sign, and throughout the area where you can now order quite a few refreshing items to enjoy. I haven't had the new item, the Citrus Swirl, which is a return of an old item. Unfortunately, the machine has been broken more than it's been working, so I haven't had a chance to try that, but I did have a pina colada drink, a slushy drink, a non-alcoholic pina colada that was really, really tasty. And Michelle, when we were there the other night, also had a raspberry lemonade slush, which she enjoyed very much. Disney also introduced some merchandise at that event, including an Orange Bird Mickey ear hat and some t-shirts and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I have no personal connection to the Orange Bird myself. I'm I guess a bit too young to have actually remembered the Orange Bird being a part of Walt Disney World. Of course, as I said, it debuted even before Walt Disney World did, and I wasn't born until 1980, which was still 7 years before the Orange Bird went away, but I was very, very young at that point, so I don't have any nostalgia, any connection toward it. But those who are a bit older than me seem to be really excited about this return of the Orange Bird. And to share a little bit more, I didn't actually attend that D23 meetup that morning. However, I do have some a little bit of audio/video to share with you from that event, courtesy of Jeff Lang over at jefflangdvd.com. So I want to take you over to hear a little bit from Disney Imagineer Dave Hoffman talking about the Orange Bird just outside the Sunshine Tree Terrace.
Of course, it's our great friend right over here. Who is he? What character?
Orange Bird.
Actually, this is artist Casey Jones talking.
Orange Bird fans wearing t-shirts. Very nice. Well, we're here because we are celebrating, the work that the Magic Kingdom has done such a great job, and to welcome the little Orange Bird back after, I believe, 25 years of being away from the Magic Kingdom. The Orange Bird is actually back here at the Sunshine Tree Terrace at his original home. So to get things started today, we want to pass it over to Dave Hoffman from Walt Disney Imagineering. He's here to speak about the project of bringing the Sunshine Tree Terrace, sort of a welcome back of the character, and of course the wonderful refurbishment that's been done here. So, Dave.
Thank you, Stephen. Hi, I'm Dave Hoffman, Art Director for Walt Disney Imagineering here at Magic Kingdom. As you've probably noticed when you walk through the park, you may have seen quite a few of our facades and facilities being worked on, refreshed, and often we look at opportunities to bring new show to our guests, new opportunities to introduce new experiences. So, as we have done in some of our other locations with storyline and with graphics and even color schemes, here at the Sunshine Tree Terrace, we found an opportunity to bring back some nostalgia to the park. It's nostalgia from day one, Magic Kingdom Park, and that is the Orange Bird. And we're so happy that there's so many fans out there, just like us, that we can represent that to all of you. As we have done here at the Sunshine Tree, we've done a major refurbishment all the way from the roof and all the way down to the paint and graphics and everything else that you see here. But there is also something special inside that we want you to see once you get a little closer, and that is something that we've been able to bring in from the archives, and we've done a lot of touch-up work to that.
So there you have it, a little bit about the Orange Bird there from the introductory event just a few days ago. I want to thank Jeff for sending over that bit of video. Of course, visit jefflangdvd.com to hear and see the full event in reintroducing the Orange Bird. Also, I want to make a quick correction there. I misidentified that first speaker as artist Casey Jones, whereas it was actually somebody from the archives named Steve Vignini. So thanks to Penelope Peach in the chat room for that quick correction. But anyway, Orange Bird is back. Many are excited, and there's lots of merchandise that you can gobble up for a limited time over at the Magic Kingdom. So, also some other news from the Magic Kingdom. Just a few days ago, from behind the construction walls of Storybook Circus, the next major element to be added to that Toontown replacement is the Casey Jr. train, and had a listener submit a photo in here of the train being installed from behind the construction walls. This is, of course, going to be a water play area and not actually a moving working train like it is at Disneyland, but nonetheless it'll be fun to see that character debut pretty soon over at the Magic Kingdom. Now, over at Downtown Disney, I was just there a few days ago. This is not exactly breaking news or anything, but I had my first chance to check out the newly remodeled Basin store, which is, of course, we're home of lots and lots of soaps and scrubs and different smelly kind of stuff. And I always had a sort of minor issue going into that store because it was very overwhelming with the scents. But fortunately, the newly renovated Basin store at Downtown Disney has a new ventilation system as well, which is really nice because it no longer is overwhelming my sense of smell and did not give me a headache when I went in there. And actually, there's a lot of really pleasant aromas to be found throughout all the different soapy sort of products throughout that store. Let's turn away here from Disney for just a moment. Coming up in just a few days, this coming Friday is going to be the official debut of SeaWorld Orlando's newest attraction, and that is called Turtle Trek. It is a 3D 360 attraction, as they're putting it, with this big dome screen. Then you put on 3D glasses and you see some sort of turtle swimming experiences, so I'm looking forward to seeing that just a few days from now. Again, it opens this coming Friday, which I believe is the 27th. And over at Universal Orlando, actually, just as I'm literally sitting down here and recording this podcast tonight on Sunday night, Universal was hosting its very first, soft opening, if you will, first public showing of Universal's Cinematic Spectacular, their new Lagoon show. Just a few days ago, they released a video preview of it. It's actually making its debut on May 8th, officially, and featuring colorful fountains and fireworks and lots of movie scenes on water screens and all that kind of thing. Of course, I'm recording this podcast instead of over there catching the first preview showing of it out tonight, but I'm sure it will be shown quite a few more times in this sort of soft opening phase until its official debut on May 8th. All right, now let's jump out to California here, and for this, I actually want to switch from this soft Epcot music over to... Yes, I always make sure to play some Tron music whenever I possibly have a reason to do so here on the show, and that's because right now I want to talk just a little bit about something else that ended. Of course, Test Track closed this week, and with that, on the same day, ElecTRONica ended at Disney California Adventure, which I'm horribly disappointed about. I really enjoyed that. Fortunately, many were there to capture the closing moments of ElecTRONica last Sunday night, and one of them was Inside the Magic listener Brian, who sent in a bit of a report from the final night of ElecTRONica. Brian wrote, on Sunday evening, I attended the final night of ElecTRONica at California Adventure. Wanted to give you my quick thoughts on the event. The entire Hollywood Pictures backlot was packed with crazy fans of all ages who came out sporting some of the most over-the-top Tron costumes and gear. From the minute the portal opened to the main dance party, the crowd was roaring with cheer, and static energy remained constant throughout the night. The drink lines also had steady long lines of people trying to get that last glow teeny with the glowing cubes. Laserman had two performances as usual, and they crowned the winner of the dance crew competition with a confetti explosion finale. After all the times I've been to ElecTRONica, I personally have never witnessed such a wild crowd who really seemed to be enjoying themselves and making the most of the night. However, I was a little disappointed that Disney didn't do anything extra special as a celebration to conclude the run of ElecTRONica, perhaps an unexpected celebrity guest DJ or actors from the movie making an appearance. I personally would have loved to have seen Daft Punk make a special surprise performance. Of course, I wasn't expecting all this, but the night did seem a bit ordinary despite the large crowds. The party ended with a final remixed song from Daft Punk, followed by a dramatic blackout. The crowds roared with cheer as the Hollywood Pictures backlight lights came back on. Overall, it was a fantastic night and definitely worth coming out for. Let's hope the Mad Tea Party will be as successful and draw in the same energetic crowds. After looking at the concept art, I'm very skeptical on the whole idea. Well, thanks very much, Brian, for sending in that report from the final night of ElecTRONica. Of course, I also want to share with you a bit of what it was like to be there, actually, for that final night of ElecTRONica, courtesy of our friend Paul Berry over at A Window to the Magic. He was there to capture the final moments of ElecTRONica and released a great video over on his website, windowtothemagic.com, of the final moments, and he let me share just a little snippet of that particular event with you here, and this is definitely just some craziness. I cannot believe the amount of people who are dancing and going crazy packed into this one little area of ElecTRONica. It's pretty impressive. So I want to play a little bit of that for you now. This is binaural audio, by the way, so put on your headphones and really get the experience of what it was like in these final moments of ElecTRONica at Disney California Adventure.
The end of the line is upon us. Survival. The portal. One more song. 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 The portal to the world of the users must be closed. But before it is, we will celebrate with one final song. For one final song.
Very impressive finale there for the end of ElecTRONica. A huge turnout of people. I would have loved to have been there for that event. I mean, there were so many people. There were literally people crowd surfing, which I don't think ever happened before at never mind ElecTRONica, perhaps at any Disney event like that before. So definitely a good way to send out ElecTRONica. Of course, if you definitely want to go see the full video that Paul over at Window to the Magic captured of the final 7 minutes or so, including the last countdown and the closing of the portal, go check that out over at, here's a direct address to download the video, tinyurl.com/WTTM-end of line. And just put that in, download the video. It's 720p HD binaural audio. You'll definitely enjoy that if you enjoyed ElecTRONica as much as I did. And then, of course, came the saddest moment of all, which was the next day, as Inside the Magic listener Leo sent me a photo of Disney taking down the Flynn's Arcade sign and ElecTRONica truly ending at Disney California Adventure. Definitely a sad moment. Mad Tea Party's on the way June 15th, along with Cars Land, Buena Vista Street, and all kinds of stuff, and we'll see how well that goes. So that's it for ElecTRONica. Let's go back to the Epcot music here as we keep going with the news. Lots of news this week, if you haven't noticed already. We're still moving strong, staying with the Disneyland Resort, and actually with ElecTRONica closing and sort of the spring break season ending here, Disneyland has sort of retooled their nighttime entertainment schedule a little bit. Fantasmic is running on the weekends only. The Remember Dreams Come True fireworks show is weekends only, and coming soon will be the return of the magical summer fireworks show. That is the fireworks show called Magical. That'll be returning next month in May, but it'll still be weekends, I guess, until June, when it will be nightly as well, with the summer crowds showing up. Of course, I am talking about Disneyland here, and it is always crowded at Disneyland. It's extra crowded over the summer, but really, be honest, every day at Disneyland is a rather crowded day. Lots of locals out there. So Disney did announce coming soon, beginning May 3rd, some new entertainment that's making its way to Frontierland. It's going to be called the Big, where is it? There it is, the Big Thunder Ranch Jamboree. And it's going to be in the former festival arena site. It's going to feature music and dancing and crafts and pin trading and characters. It's going to take place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, featuring Minnie Mouse and Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Chip and Dale. And occasionally Horace Horsecollar will appear along with Clarabelle, Cow, Clara Cluck, and even occasional appearances by the Country Bears. And this is also where Disney's performing arts performances will be held as well. And then over at Disney California Adventure, of course, we recently talked about some acts that are going to be performing Streetmosphere sort of act in Buena Vista Street. But there's also going to be the return of the Pixar Play Parade very soon, returning to Disney California Adventure once all of the construction walls finally come down. And on June 15th, when Cars Land debuts, there will be street entertainment in Cars Land as well. Red the Fire Truck is going to roll out into Radiator Springs along with a volunteer firefighter human, and they're there to water the plants apparently, but this very wet act is sure to spray water absolutely everywhere, much like the Pixar Play Parade does. And then in addition to that, another bit of street entertainment that is going to be in Cars Land is going to feature the character of DJ, who is a party car, and he's going to have DJs Dance and Drive, which is going to be a street party, also featuring a girl named Spinner, and they're going to have car-themed music and car-themed dance moves, of course. If you're not a fan of street parties, well, too bad, because Disney is bringing more than ever very, very soon. Another change coming to Disney California Adventure is over at Ariel's Grotto. Also on June 15th, it's going to switch over to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner character service now, which means the World of Color dining packages for Ariel's Grotto will no longer exist after June 14th. So definitely worth taking note there. And even more entertainment that was announced this week being added soon to the Disneyland Resort over at Disneyland Park is the Voices of Liberty. Of course, you know them best for singing in the American Adventure Pavilion over at Epcot. Well, that singing group is now going to be duplicated over at Disneyland in the Main Street Opera House, which, of course, is the home of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. So very appropriate there for them to be singing. The Epcot group is not leaving. Don't worry. We'll still have the Voices of Liberty out here in Florida, but they will also a new group called Voices of Liberty will also be singing at Disneyland pretty soon. Disney did not say a specific date for when they'll debut, but I'm going to go ahead and guess it's going to be June, perhaps June 15th, because, well, everything else is debuting June 15th. It's going to be a big, big day at Disneyland this summer. Here's something that's opening a little bit before June 15th that was also announced this week for the Disneyland Resort, though over at Downtown Disney, actually. It's a new art gallery that they're calling the Wonderground Gallery. It's going to be opening at Downtown Disney on June 9th, and it's going to feature art collections that are inspired by Disney and Pixar films and Mickey Mouse. It's featuring the art from 25 local and domestic up-and-coming artists, as they put it. There will be commissioned works, original works, and even some limited edition artwork as well. And now turning away from Disney once again, while we're in California, we certainly can't skip Transformers The Ride 3D, which is going to be having its grand opening in just over a month from now. However, this week previews began of the ride, and it's been getting great reviews. There was employee preview first, and then there's been pretty much daily technical rehearsals, which in Disney speak is really a soft opening. And Universal Hollywood also offered a behind-the-scenes video, which was really entertaining online, a really good look at the making of this new Transformers ride, showing off a great view of the ride vehicle that should be very similar to anyone who's ridden Spider-Man, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man out here at Islands of Adventure. Very, very similar attraction, but sort of enhanced, and many have said that the new Transformers ride is even better than Spider-Man, so I'm really looking forward to riding that very, very soon, next time I head out to California. In addition, apparently there are some walk-around characters, some Transformers, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee that aren't quite in the proper scale. They're not, 2 stories tall or however tall Transformers should be, but they are pretty neat looking stilt walking type characters around the park. Annual pass holders to Universal Studios Hollywood can sign up for pass holder previews May 4th through 6th, and then the red carpet press event preview opening shindig of Transformers is going to be on May 24th, with the big public opening the next day, May 25th. All right, let's jump overseas now here for a minute, where this news actually came in from Inside the Magic listener Sam in London, letting me know that this summer is the big Queen's Festival. It's going to be this huge Queen's Jubilee, I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's going to be in Hyde Park, and as part of it will be the Magic of Disney in Concert. A finale on both of the days, June 2nd and June 3rd. There will feature music and songs and performances from Tangled and Beauty and the Beast and The Jungle Book and Pirates of the Caribbean and Toy Story, Sleeping Beauty and The Lion King. It's going to be a 70-minute performance, and it will feature all 10 Disney princesses. Should be a pretty exciting event for anybody attending that in London. And now let's move on to the world of movies, where this weekend Disney Nature's latest film, Chimpanzee, hit theaters. I haven't had a chance to see it. However, we did send Josh Dawes, frequent contributor here, to go check it out, and he posted a review over on InsideTheMagic.net of this latest Disney Nature film. And here's something really fun that happened this week, actually last weekend, out in Los Angeles. The Turner Classic Movies Film Festival, for the second year in a row, partnered up with D23 and Disney to bring some really great Disney content to that event, which takes place at very historic locations throughout Los Angeles / Hollywood. And one of the biggest events that was Disney related, if not the biggest event, took place on Friday, April 13th, last Friday, at 2:45 p.m. at Grauman's Chinese Theater, to a packed house. It was the premiere of the restored version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and in attendance was none other than the star of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Kirk Douglas, who is currently a young 95 years of age. He entertained the crowd talking about the making of the film, and both Jeremiah and Josh Dawes were there, enjoyed every minute of it. Jeremiah said the movie looked absolutely great, but really one of the highlights of it was a special, I'll call it a performance from Kirk Douglas. Here, listen in.
When they watch this movie, they're going to see you sing. Now, 1954, you had never sang in a movie before, but I understand you recorded a whale of a tale, given your pal Frank Sinatra a little trouble on the music chart, some competition. Do you still, this is crazy, but do you still remember the words?
I never sang in 54, and I can't sing in 2012. And I sang the song, "Try the wheel of the day to tell you that a wheel of the day or two, but the fluffy fish and the girls I love, like my circus with the moon above, a wheel of the tail, and it's all too I swear by my tattoo."
So one of those really excellent once-in-a-lifetime types of moments there. Of course, Mr. Kirk Douglas is not young anymore. He is 95 years old, but for him to get up in front of a packed house at Grauman's historic Chinese Theater and sing his classic song from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, what a great moment for all those who were in attendance. And I thank Jeremiah and Josh for sharing that moment with us as well. So continuing on with some movie news here, a movie that many are really anticipating, really looking forward to, is called Wreck-It Ralph from Walt Disney Feature Animation. And this week, Disney Studios released a first look at the poster for that upcoming animated film. It's a film set in the video game world, sort of the Nintendo era 8-bit world, and the new poster reflects that very much, showing the title character character Wreck-It Ralph in a 8-bit style. He's the villain of the fictional sort of Donkey Kong meets Rampage video game called Fix-It Felix Jr., and the movie's really going to follow him as a video game villain along with other sort of video game villains in the film who are tired of always being portrayed as the bad guy. Apparently, there will be some cameos from real-life video game villains, real video game villains, such as Bowser from Mario, Dr. Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog, some Pac-Man ghosts, Kano from Mortal Kombat, and even Coily the Snake from Q*bert. So definitely really looking forward to that. I think anybody who's been a gamer for many years, particularly from old Nintendo games, will really enjoy seeing that film. It comes out in November. Some more movie news. This is, it's not confirmed by Disney, but it seems to be something that's in the works at Disney. Apparently, in a long trend now of making theme park rides into movies, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is being considered as a both live-action / CGI movie. Of course, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in the first place was based, on The Wind in the Willows and all of those Toad-related stories, and now it sort of became a ride and is becoming a movie, apparently. I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but apparently Pete Candland, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but regardless, apparently he's attached to the film to direct. There isn't necessarily a script or anything like that. It's very, very early in the stage. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. There's still even more big news that came out this week, definitely movie-related here. Very, very surprising news, actually, coming out of the Walt Disney Studios. Studio head Rich Ross, formerly of the Disney Channel, has resigned as chairman of the Walt Disney Studios. In a statement on Friday, Ross wrote, quote, "I no longer believe the chairman role is the right professional fit for me. For that reason, I have made the very difficult decision to step down as chairman of the Walt Disney Studios, effective today." End quote. Of course, Rich Ross took over for Dick Cook back in October of 2009. Ross brought on M.T. Carney to run Disney's marketing division. M.T. Carney left Disney just a few months ago in January after John Carter really did not do well at all at the box office, to say it lightly. There was a $200 million write-down as a result of John Carter's box office failure, and that was definitely one of the major reasons why Ross ultimately stepped down from the role. Bob Iger, chairman and CEO, or president and CEO rather, of the Walt Disney Company, in a statement about Rich Ross said, quote, "For more than a decade, Rich Ross's creative instincts, business acumen, and personal integrity have driven results in key businesses for Disney, redefining success in kids and family entertainment and launching franchises that generate value across our entire company. His vision and leadership opened doors for Disney around the world, making our brand part of daily life for millions of people. I appreciate his countless contributions throughout his entire career at Disney and expect he will have tremendous success in whatever he chooses to do next." End quote. The films that Rich Ross, while at the Walt Disney Studios, approved included Prom, which did not do so well at the box office, Sam Raimi's Oz the Great and Powerful, which is still in production, and The Lone Ranger, which is still in production as well. Those are pretty much what will be Rich Ross's legacy out of the Walt Disney Studios, and the replacement for Ross has not yet been named. There's a lot of names being thrown around, including the head of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige. I believe that's the name, Kevin Feige. Anyway, a lot of people are hoping that he'll step into that role, but I don't know. We'll wait and see who Disney does finally pick. Speaking of Marvel, though, the soundtrack to the upcoming movie The Avengers, which is coming out May 4th, the soundtrack is now available, and for those of you like me who have been fans of Soundgarden, the alternative band from the 90s and early 2000s. Anyway, Soundgarden's back together, and you can download their new single Live to Rise from the Avengers soundtrack for free over on iTunes. Also in the world of the Avengers, Profiles in History, the big Hollywood auction house recently auctioned off some Marvel items, including the Captain America hero costume used in most graphic advertising and promotional materials from the Captain America, the First Avenger film. It fetched $228,000. There was also a full-scale screen-used Mark II autopsy suit from Iron Man 2. That one brought in $132,000. And speaking of Iron Man, Disney apparently is partnering with a Chinese firm in efforts in creating Iron Man 3, and portions of that film reportedly will be filmed in China, including a bit of Chinese storyline into the movie. Of course, that's sparking many into thinking Iron Man's longtime nemesis, the Mandarin, will be featured. Of course, that has not yet been confirmed. It is said that Ben Kingsley will be playing the villain in Iron Man 3, and he certainly would fit the role of the Mandarin rather nicely. Also in the world of movies, Bambi and Beauty and the Beast, the Diamond editions that came out within the last few months or so, are heading back into the Disney Vault as of April 30th, a little over a week from now. So if you want to pick those up, you have a limited amount of time to do so. And speaking of Disney movies, Disney has announced plans, the Walt Disney Studios has announced plans this week to bring more than 30 legacy or catalog titles into their Blu-ray library, digitally remastered. It's a mixture of live-action, animated, and romance films. In May, next month, they'll be releasing The Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride Part 2, as well as Bringing Down the House. You know, that's a classic film. June, they're releasing The Color of Money, Cocktail, Ransom, Sister Act, and Evita. In July, The Horse Whisperer, Under the Tuscan Sun, Phenomenon, Step Up, Home on the Range, and Treasure Planet. There's a couple of animated ones there. Then in the fall, a much bigger list of films, including Adventures in Babysitting, Grosse Pointe Blank, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, The Rescuers, High Fidelity, Ed Wood, Judge Dredd, Ghosts of the Abyss 3D, Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure, Pocahontas, The Tigger Movie, The Aristocats, and Pete's Dragon. And then around Halloween time and the holidays will be Hocus Pocus, Arachnophobia, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Son of Flubber, Cold Creek Manor, The Santa Claus Trilogy. I didn't even know there were 3 films there. Anyway, The Absent-Minded Professor, Flubber, While You Were Sleeping, Sweet Home Alabama, Beaches, Babes in Toyland, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Brother Bear, and Dick Tracy. All of those will be coming out on Blu-ray by the end of this year. You can find out more at DisneyBlu-ray.com. Now, it's 45 minutes into the show already. This has got to be one of our longer news segments ever here on the show, and I really shouldn't have waited this long into the show to mention this really sad news, but I did, and here it is. Unfortunately, this week, a legend in the TV community, Dick Clark, died at the age of 82 years old. Of course, for many years now, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve has been aired on Disney's ABC network. Of course, he was also the host of American Bandstand and $25,000 Pyramid and a number of other television programs, a pioneer in the whole broadcasting industry, definitely a valued member of not only the television community, but even of the Disney community as well. Disney President Bob Iger said, quote, "For more than half a century, Dick Clark brought the best of American music to audiences across the country, creating careers and countless fans for artists in his iconic shows American Bandstand and New Year's Rockin' Eve. We're proud that ABC was home to those programs and will always be part of his legacy. On behalf of everyone at Disney and ABC, we send our sincere condolences to Dick's family, as well as the 3 generations of fans who will miss him as much as we do," end quote. Definitely a really, really sad moment. I always really enjoyed every time Dick Clark was on TV. I still watch reruns of $25,000 Pyramid and $100,000 Pyramid on Game Show Network, and he's definitely a great talent, a great host, and will greatly, greatly be missed on television. It's not going to be the same type of New Year's without seeing Dick Clark. Almost wrapping up Disney news here this week before we get into, well, even a little bit more of news. But anyway, D23 news will be wrapping up here. First up, Destination D tickets. The next Destination D event will be held this coming August at Disneyland, and tickets went on sale this week. There were 2 levels of tickets. One was the regular level, which is still available. I believe it's $225 per person. And then there was a diamond level at $1,000 per ticket, and those sold out very, very quickly. Those promised an extra day of entertainment on top of the 2 that are part of Destination D, as well as some additional special experiences and reserved seating and all of that kind of thing. So you can't get diamond level tickets anymore, but if you are interested in attending Destination D, you're going to want to visit the D23 website to pick up your tickets. And believe it or not, even though we've had all this news, there's still yet another announcement to be, announced here from D23. It is an upcoming, D23 and the Walt Disney Archives have jointly announced a new exhibit, Treasures of the Walt Disney Archives, the same name that was used for a similar exhibit that was at the last two D23 Expos, but this one's going to be even bigger and even better. It's going to debut at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum in California on July 6th. It's going to stay there through April of 2013. It's actually located in Simi Valley, California, which is about 60 minutes north of downtown Los Angeles, or about 2 hours north of Disneyland. It's going to feature more than 500 historic artifacts from nearly 9 decades of Disney history. It's the largest exhibition that's ever been curated by the Walt Disney Archives at 12,000 square feet. And just some of the things that'll be featured will be items related to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and Mickey Mouse, Captain Jack Sparrow, Captain America, and lots of models and props and costumes and set pieces and artwork. There's going to be the original script written by Walt Disney for Mickey Mouse's film debut, Steamboat Willie, back in 1928, a recreation of Walt's formal office at the studios in Burbank, hand-drawn artwork and hand-sculpted models and from a whole bunch of animated film classics. There'll be props from Mary Poppins, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Absent-Minded Professor, The Shaggy Dog, Babes in Toyland, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Pirates of the Caribbean, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, Tron Legacy, National Treasure, Captain America, and even more. It will also feature the busts of all 44 U.S. presidents from the Hall of Presidents, as well as more theme park artwork, audio animatronics, characters, memorabilia, and attraction vehicles. A massive, massive exhibit that I really am looking forward to seeing. Again, it all debuts July 6th. It's at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. You can find out more at the D23 website, which is disney.com/D23, or at reaganlibrary.com. The exhibit is included with the purchase of admission to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, and D23 members can save $2 on adult admission. And final bit of news this week, actually, is once again related to Marvel and the Avengers, but also D23. The next issue of Disney 23 magazine is going to feature 3 different collectible covers, and it's going to debut on May 1st. It's the summer issue, and it will feature the Avengers on the cover. So if any of you don't think that Marvel is Disney, well, guess what? It is. D23, the Disney fan club, is featuring the Avengers on the cover of their magazine, and that's pretty much their way of saying, well, deal with it. Marvel is indeed Disney. In fact, the magazine's also going to feature a 10-page story on the Avengers, written by author and Disney Imagineer Jason Sorrell, talking to the cast of the film and the director and all those wonderful people. And then D23 Gold members, in addition to the magazine, will also feature a member-only gift, one of 7 collectible patches that will feature insignias of each Avenger. And there it is, 50 minutes later. That's it for your news from around the world this week.
It's a tip for today.
And this week's tip is sent in from Kevin from Ohio, who writes, "This may seem like a somewhat odd and random tip, but it may help others avoid the same mistake I made, which really put a damper on my trip. On day 2 of our trip to Walt Disney World, we went on Kali River Rapids over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and immediately after went to Finding Nemo the musical. It seemed innocent enough at the time, but the theater for Finding Nemo is cold, freezing even. This theater is one of the coldest places on property you can find. Of course, we went in soaking wet after Cali and sat there shivering and teeth chattering the entire time. I wanted to get up and leave, but I did not want to interrupt the show either. Needless to say, 2 days later, 3 of the 8 members of our party came down with brutal colds midway through our trip, which really slowed things down and put an overall damper on things. So we tried our best to keep moving forward, but avoid this situation altogether. Please make sure you are dry before going into the Finding Nemo musical, or do the attractions in the reverse order that I did. Kevin, good tip there. Definitely not a smart idea to get completely soaked and then go into somewhere as extremely cold as the Finding Nemo musical is. And you're right, it is a very wonderfully air-conditioned building. On a hot day, it feels great to be sitting in there, but not a good idea to do it when you are dripping wet. So Definitely an odd and random tip, like you said, but a good one. Everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And even though we did have an exceptionally long news segment this week, I do still have a main feature prepared for you to enjoy. But before we get to that, I do want to put in a quick word about Theme Park Connection. Of course, Theme Park Connection is a store, both online and physically, here in Winter Garden, Florida, about 15 to 20 minutes north of the Magic Kingdom. They specialize in buying, selling, and trading Disney items. What that means is they have rare collectibles, very unique collectibles that you really won't find anywhere else. In fact, this week I was just over there a few days ago and saw something I never thought I would have a chance to pick up and see up close in person after so many years of it being gone, and that was a close look at Mr. Toad from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, as well as one of the devils from the finale of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride out here in Florida. Those came and went very quickly at Theme Park Connection. Somebody snatched them up within just a couple of days of them arriving, so it's a good idea to frequently check back to themeparkconnection.com to check out the amazing pieces like that. They've got a bunch of stuff from Horizons and all kinds of cool stuff. Of course, they've got an eBay store as well, so check it all out over at themeparkconnection.com.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail, our highway in the sky to the Magic Kingdom.
So, one more bit of news that happened very recently, happened within the last week or so that I did not mention in the 50 or so minutes that I was talking about the news at the top of the show, is that the Walt Disney World monorail system received a new narration. Now, this happens from time to time. Every few years or so, Walt Disney World feels the need, and there is a necessity for them to update their monorail narration to make sure that it makes sense with all of the changes that happened around the resort, be it new Disney Vacation Club areas or new attractions, etc., etc. And it seems that each time Walt Disney World decides to update their monorail spiel, they change narrators, and sometimes it's for the good, sometimes it's for the bad. There, of course, has been many different narrators over the years, and the most recent one is not without some controversy amongst Disney fans. Some people like it. Like myself, I find it to be more appealing than the previous guy, who sounded like he was kind of shouting at you, but not as good as the one that I really remember hearing throughout the 90s, and the one that's featured on the monorail toys and all of that. I think that's one of the best. But, I'll let you judge for yourself. I went and I recorded the entire loop from Transportation and Ticket Center to the Magic Kingdom and back. And I cut out all the bits in between the narration, so you don't have to sit there and just listen to people chatting in the monorail cab and hearing, random bits of whooshing and all that kind of sounds. What you will hear is just in the narration itself. It's probably a total of about maybe 5 minutes long or so. So it is in binaural audio, so go ahead and put on your headphones. Let's tune in to the Transportation and Ticket Center is where we'll start, and listen in to what it sounds like now to ride the monorail to the Magic Kingdom and back.
As you board, please continue moving across your car to make room for everyone. Please offer available seats to those needing special assistance. If you're standing, please hold onto the handrail and stay clear of the doors. Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Monorail will depart momentarily for the Magic Kingdom. Thank you. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail, your highway in the sky to the Magic Kingdom. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors. For the comfort of others, no smoking, please. Thank you. We are now circling the Disney-created 7 Seas Lagoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently holding for further traffic clearance. Please remember to stay clear of all automatic doors. If you're standing, please continue to hold on to the silver handrails. Thank you. We are now entering Disney's Contemporary Resort. We are now passing the newest addition to Disney Vacation Club, Bay Lake Tower at Disney's Contemporary Resort. As you approach the entrance, please keep your party together and have your tickets ready. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our station at the entrance to Main Street, USA, gateway to the 16 lands of the Magic Kingdom. Smoking is not permitted in the Magic Kingdom, except in designated areas. Please consult your guide map or ask a cast member for location. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors until the monorail stops completely and the doors open. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Magic Kingdom monorail station. Ladies and gentlemen, please collect your belongings, watch your head and step, and take small children by the hand. We hope you enjoy your day at the Magic Kingdom. As you board, please move across your car to make room for everyone, and kindly offer available seating to those needing special assistance. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the automatic doors. They will be closing in a moment. Please move across your car to make room for everyone, and kindly offer available seating to those needing special assistance. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the automatic doors. They will be closing in a moment. Thank you. We will be traveling to the Transportation and Ticket Center. If you're traveling to Disney's Contemporary, Polynesian, or Grand Floridian resorts, please exit this monorail. The monorail on the opposite side of this station services our resort hotels. For assistance, please ask a monorail host or hostess. If you are standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors. They will be closing in a moment. The monorail will depart momentarily for the Transportation and Ticket Center. Thank you. Please stand clear of the door. Por favor, manténganse alejados de la puerta. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail to the Transportation and Ticket Center. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors. For the comfort of others, no smoking, please. Thank you. Located between Disney's Grand Floridian and Polynesian resorts is Disney's Wedding Pavilion. Couples may exchange vows in a fairy tale setting, complete with a picturesque backdrop of Cinderella Castle. You can upgrade a Magic Your Way ticket at any time prior to its expiration by adding more days or options, such as Park Hopper and Water Park Fun and more. Just stop by any theme park ticket window for details. Experience a South Seas island adventure at Disney's Polynesian Resort. Inside the Great Ceremonial House, you'll find shopping and dining with a South Pacific flavor. Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the Transportation and Ticket Center. This includes all sections of the Magic Kingdom car and bus parking lot. If you're traveling to Epcot, please exit here and board the monorail at the connecting monorail station. Separate bus transportation is provided to Disney's Animal Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios. If you need additional assistance, a host or hostess will be happy to help you. This monorail will be returning to the Magic Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors until the monorail stops completely and the doors open. If this concludes your visit to the Walt Disney World Resort, we hope you've had a wonderful time. I will return home safely. This is the Transportation and Ticket Center. Thank you for traveling with us.
And there you have it. That's the new monorail narration. Not only is it on the Transportation and Ticket Center to Magic Kingdom and back, but it's also on the resort line as well as over at Epcot. I'm not going to share all of those with you, but you get the idea. I don't mind it at all. A lot of people say it sounds too simple, too boring, too monotone, too robotic. I think it's just fine. I think it sounds like it's telling you a little bit of information here and there about what you're going around the track. It's not interfering. It's not too loud. It's not too in your face. Maybe it doesn't have quite that Disney magic to it or any kind of super special touches, but I think it gets the job done, and it's just fine. But on the subject of the monorail, I do want to share a bit more information with you, kind of looking back at the history of what the monorail always has been. And to do that, I am welcoming back a recent contributor here on the show. His name is Adam, and he had a lot to share recently about a completely different topic, but now he's here to talk all about the monorail. So now I want to turn it over to Adam to give you, a little bit of a history lesson, I suppose.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados.
Brings the capacity of these trains up to maximum. Riding in the front of all the trains was allowed, but was cut short at Walt Disney World after a fatal accident that happened in the early hours of the morning one day several years ago. The most recent monorail is the Mark 7 that runs at the Disneyland Resort. The monorails are based upon their 1950s counterparts. No update to the trains in Florida has been announced, but it's been rumored for many years. So how do these things work? Unlike conventional trains, there are motors in all of the cars and each car can pull itself. But where does the power to run these massive trains come from? The answer lies in the track itself. If you look at the side of the track, you'll see a small bus bar on it, and a contact point from each of the trains wraps around it. This bar is feeding current from a 600-volt DC electrical system. The monorails themselves are built of fiberglass composite on a steel frame, which gives the cars a weight of 800 pounds without any equipment on them. The weight is a large consideration with these trains. And then there's the voices, specifically the ones at Walt Disney World. The one at Disneyland has been the same for many years. At Walt Disney World, it has changed several times in the past few decades. However, the iconic
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
has remained the same. It is rumored that this is partially due to the fact that the system that generates the doors is separate from everything else. In addition, it's one of the most well-known Disney tracks. The line was recorded by Jack Wagner, who is famous as being the voice of Disneyland. He also recorded one of the early spiels for the monorail. In 1988, Kevin Miles was featured on the Walt Disney World monorails after the Grand Floridian stop was added. One of the more iconic narrations was recorded by Matt Hansen and is also featured on the monorail toys.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching our station at the entrance to Main Street, USA, gateway to the 7 themed lands of the Magic Kingdom.
This narration ran until 2004, when Hansen was replaced by Joe Hirsch, who is the most recent narrator besides the one that has yet to be identified.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our station at the entrance to Main Street, USA, gateway to the 7 theme lands of the Magic Kingdom.
I personally feel that these two narrations, the 1998 and 2004 respectively, are the most iconic. The monorail has remained a reliable, safe, environmentally friendly, and quiet mode of transportation. So, why doesn't every single town have a monorail? They're quite popular in Asia. Well, they're expensive. The cost to build the Walt Disney World monorail system was $1 million per mile in 1970s dollars. And as a large-scale transportation system, that's ineffective. Secondly, the Disney Association has shed a bad light on them. Disney has always used the monorail as a distinctive, environmentally friendly, futuristic mode of transportation, and that's not likely to change. However, the rest of the world sees Disney as a theme park and considers the monorail to be a theme park novelty. That's all I have for this segment. Thanks once again for listening to Disney and Beyond. I'm your host, Adam Alcantara. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or requests for a future segment, please email me at todisneyandbeyond@gmail.com. Thanks once again for listening. Back to you, Ricky.
Thanks very much, Adam. Great information there about the monorails. Definitely a good throwback to Mark and Jay's old Backstage Pass segments. I'm sure they'll be back on the show at some point, but in the meantime, it's nice to hear a little bit of history working its way back on Inside the Magic, and great photos you sent over as well to accompany your segment for those of you watching the video version. So, yeah, good all around. That's it for the monorails this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the new narration as well as that look back to the past. And we'll be wrapping up the show with some listener feedback here in just a moment. But before we get to that, let me put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. This is where you can go to customize your own lanyard, whether you're going to use it for promotional purposes, maybe advertise a business, or you're going to be at a convention and you need to wear a name tag, or maybe even at a school or a church. You can do all of that over at lanyardlab.com. Well, you can't wear it at lanyardlab.com, but you can design it there and then get it shipped to you, and then you can wear it. Design it by clicking on anywhere it says get a quote on the website. And you can just submit all your details to us, a logo, text, colors, anything you want to put on the lanyards, and then we will email you back with a price quote for your design along with a proof showing you what the lanyards will look like when you get them. You can make any changes you want at that point. There is no obligation to purchase, which means it's completely free to preview. Check it out, and then if you like it, you can buy it as well, all online at lanyardlab.com. That's LANYARDLAB.com.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Apparently we had a stuttering listener feedback introduction there. That's fine. It was robotic anyway. Maybe just had a little robot glitch. So let's jump into it. Very small amount of listener feedback this week. Actually, it's a few emails carried over from last week that I meant to include last week and didn't actually include for some reason. So I got those and then a couple of others as well as a voicemail. So let's jump right into it. First is from Raph from Australia, who writes, I have been reading The Kingdom Keepers with my 10-year-old son and very much enjoying the series, and we are awaiting a copy of Kingdom Keepers 5 at the moment. Kingdom Keepers 4 begins at Disney Quest, and I was wondering whether you have been there and what your thoughts are, especially as a destination for young boys as a break from the parks. Has Disney invested in Disney Quest recently? And if so, could you cover the changes? Well, unfortunately, Disney has not invested in Disney Quest recently. It does still exist, and for anybody who doesn't know what Disney Quest is, it's basically Disney's version of an arcade, a video game arcade. It's at downtown Disney, out here at Walt Disney World, and it was originally designed basically to become a big chain that was supposed to explode across the United States as almost an indoor theme park, as Disney was putting it, a virtual theme park where you could not only play video games but have unique Disney experiences as well. Disney did open up one in Chicago for a short amount of time, but ultimately it closed. And unfortunately, Disney Quest, while it still exists out here in Orlando, it is moving along, and it's pretty much the same as it has been for years. In fact, Disney has managed to take things away from Disney Quest over the years, rather than sort of investing in it and creating new experiences. The last major new addition to Disney Quest was quite a number of years ago when they added the Pirates of the Caribbean sort of game/ride sort of thing, 3D interactive, almost a precursor to Toy Story Mania, because it had the little spring action shooters and 3D screens. That was years and years ago that Disney debuted that, and there really hasn't been a whole lot of new additions to Disney Quest ever since then. It is included when you buy the super duper mega annual pass, the premium annual pass or premiere or whatever. But it's fun. Unfortunately, the one of the coolest part of the whole experience is that name I mentioned earlier from the chat room, Penelope Peach, just mentioned the elevator near the beginning. You would walk in and it seemed like a normal elevator, and then, I can't spoil it for you here because it doesn't happen anymore. Unfortunately, the genie would appear in this mirror in the elevator and put on this great, funny little skit, and it was great. A great way to be introduced to Disney Quest and have this magical moment happen. Well, unfortunately, now it's just an elevator. You get in, you ride, you get off, you move on, you play some video games. No more genie, which is really unfortunate. It's one of the better experiences there at Disney Quest. So to answer your question directly, is it a good place for a young boy to enjoy himself from as a break from the parks? Yeah, it's fun. If you like video games, you'll sort of put money on a card, or rather, it's not putting money on a card. It's you play to get in, and you play once you're in there, and you play and you play and you play, and that's fun, and it's video games. So you can't really say much wrong about that. It's not a theme park, but it does have cool VR things and interactive experiences and that sort of thing. So I still like Disney Quest. I just wish Disney would update it with a few more items. Next up, an email from Ryan, who writes, according to Nintendo Power, along with Frank, he's referring to Epic Mickey here, according to Nintendo Power, or rather, Epic Mickey 2. According to Nintendo Power, along with Frank Welker voicing Oswald, Carrie Elwes of Princess Bride, and Robin Hood Men in Tights fame will be voicing Gus the Gremlin. The game will also be much more persistent throughout, with choices in painting and thinning actually changing areas and having these changes stick around after leaving. The game will also feature a drastically improved physics system. And according to Nintendo Power, the Power of Illusion game for 3DS seems to be acting as a midquel between Epic Mickey and Epic Mickey 2. Ryan, good additional information about the upcoming games. Really looking forward to that 3DS one. And now let's go over to, that was Ryan. This is Brian on the voicemail.
Hey, Ricky, this is Brian Martzoff of the Disneyland News Today podcast. And I heard on a recent episode you were reading an email, or maybe it was a voicemail that time, where somebody was saying you ought to read Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom. You say you've been meaning to get to it for a long time and just had never gotten to it. I did want to remind you that the way Cory Doctorow released that book, he left it open to any kind of interpretation. Anybody wanted to republish it or redo it in any way, he allowed him to do that. So it's available in a variety of formats, including ebook formats, but also it was done as an audiobook, and that audiobook was released as a podcast. I believe if you go to the podcast section of the iTunes Store and search Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom, you should be able to find that. I listened to it a while back as an audiobook through podcast episodes of it. Is the way he released it, as instead of being a traditional audiobook where you'd have to buy it, since he released it for free, basically, as this, or it was released for free as this podcast. So, just thought I'd offer that up as another way to take in that book if you don't have a lot of time to spend reading. I know I have a lot of books on Disney I'd love to read that I don't ever seem to get around to, and this was one that having that other option of listening to it as a free audio podcast made it much easier. Anyhow, keep up the great episodes. Listening to your show is always another great way of mousing it up. Bye for now.
Great, thanks very much. I had completely forgotten about that. You're right. Cory Doctorow, of course, has been very much a champion in electronic freedoms and electronic rights and copyright reform and all that kind of thing. So he certainly is big on releasing his own works in manners such that people can get a hold of them however they need to and however they want to, and then even reinterpret them, as you said. And in his book, Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom, you're right. It was released as a podcast, not from Cory, but rather for somebody else who created a podcast out of it. And it is definitely a great way to read something like that without actually having to sit down and read it. And I completely forgot about it. I'm glad you reminded me about that. I'm going to have to load it up and listen to it as I'm driving around, because it is one of those things that I have been meaning to get around to for so many years now and just haven't had a chance to sit down and read. So an audio version of it is definitely a great way to do it. So thanks again for that. Next, an email from Sam from London, who writes, I was looking on the Disney Cruise website for the possibility of going on a cruise, and I wanted to know if the Fantasy, I wanted to go on the Fantasy and stop at Castaway Cay, but I couldn't seem to find a voyage that did that. Is there any way to book a Disney Cruise holiday to your specific requirements, where you want to go, what ship, etc.? And is it possible to go on a Disney Cruise directly to Castaway Cay? And is it possible to stay on the island for a few days? Do they have a hotel there? Sam, all really good questions, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. That's not quite how Disney Cruise Line works. You cannot customize your vacations. You can only pick from the itineraries that are available for Disney Cruise Line. So, for instance, for the Disney Fantasy, they sail a very specific itinerary with very specific stops around the Caribbean, Castaway Cay being one of them. So, actually, all of the Disney Fantasy voyages will go to Castaway Cay. They are 7-day voyages only on the Fantasy, whereas the Disney Dream, its sister ship, sails shorter voyages than that. So depending on how long and how much money you want to put into it, there'll be your choice between those two to sail the Caribbean. And so no, unfortunately you can't pick, you want to go here, you want to go there, and unfortunately you definitely cannot stay on Castaway Cay more than a few hours. Usually you show up at Castaway maybe 7, 8, 9 in the morning, and you stay there till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when the ship sails away, and you better be on board because you're not sticking around afterwards. There is not a hotel on Castaway Cay. It's specifically there for the purpose of Disney Cruises coming, parking, staying there for the day, and then departing, and that's it. So hopefully that answers your questions. And final email here is one from, again, I was supposed to share it last week and I forgot. This is from Faye. Just got lost in the shuffle. So Faye is responding to a listener from now a couple of weeks ago who asked about vegan foods at the parks. So she writes, while I can't speak for Disney World, there are plenty of vegan options at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. A few places that come to mind are the gumbo in a bread bowl in New Orleans Square, the vegetable kebab at the Bengal Barbecue, light but the potatoes are delicious. You might want to get 2. The grilled portobello dish at Blue Bayou for lunch only. Pasta at the Plaza Inn or at Red Rocket's Pizza Port. And, of course, the Dole Whips. And my personal favorite, fried green tomato sandwiches with sweet potato fries at a Hungry Bear restaurant, though you need to ask them to make the sandwich vegan, and they are happy to accommodate. At Disney California Adventure, there's great vegan chili in a bread bowl at Pacific Wharf. Solid vegan options at many other eateries throughout the park, such as Ariel's Grotto, Boardwalk Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, Paradise Garden Grill, Lucky Fortune Cookery, Cocina Cucamonga Mexican Grill, and the Wine Country Trattoria. And of course, there are many options at Downtown Disney too. The main thing to remember is, just like Ricky said, referring to me, of course, Disney is always really nice about accommodating dietary needs and requests at restaurants. When at Ariel's Grotto, once we asked if we could have one of the 3-course selections modified to be without dairy, and the chef came out himself and happily planned a new menu just for our party, making sure it was what we wanted. Faye, great information there. Certainly a topic that I am not particularly familiar with, as I am not vegan or requiring any really special dietary concerns at all. But Disney always goes way out of their way to make sure that those options are available for those who need it, which is fantastic. And so thanks for those recommendations. And that'll do it for listener feedback this week.
Tomorrow.
Now, I said that'll do it for listener feedback, and I meant it. However, I do have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 more emails that I didn't share. I figured because I skipped last week's listener feedback, which is what I just included this week, I'd go ahead and skip this week's listener feedback and hold that till next week. Yeah, it's a long show already, an hour and 23 minutes. I figured I'd wrap it up here, and then I will feature all of this listener feedback and next week's listener feedback next week, if that makes any sense at all. So let's wrap up the show by saying I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Also, if you're looking to buy or sell your Disney items or their Disney items, or you're looking for Disney rarities, themeparkconnection.com is where you're going to want to do it. Check out their eBay store, as well as information and directions and store hours and all that good stuff on how to get to their physical store out here in Winter Garden, Florida. And of course, lanyardlab.com is where you'll find me when I am not working on Inside the Magic. It is my day job in business, selling custom lanyards. If you are interested in that, check it out over at lanyardlab.com. And hopefully you enjoyed our look into a whole lot of Disney news this week from all over, from Epcot and Magic Kingdom. Definitely go head over to InsideTheMagic.net and check out the Vision House, replacing the House of Innoventions over at Epcot. Big video photo tour of that new experience over at the website. And, of course, we shared the Monorail narration and Orange Bird and ElecTRONica and all that good stuff. Check the show notes this week to get the links to where you can watch or listen to the full videos of those other experiences submitted by Jeff Lang and Paul Berry, shared with us for inclusion on this week's show. And I thank them again for sharing that. I can't be everywhere all the time, so it helps to have friends out there in the Disney community who can share extra things like that every once in a while. So anyway, that's about it for this week's show. Of course, I want to mention InsideTheMagic.net is your source for Disney and theme park news between episodes of this show, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff. Thanks to all of you for listening each and every week, and have a magical week. Bye.
Tomorrow, just a dream away.